The hunt is one of Final Fantasy XIV's few overworld activities, and one that I rather enjoy as part of a solid community that embrace the thrill of the hunt. At the North American FanFest keynote, it was mentioned that Square Enix are aiming to improve player experience in public field areas. And with talk of dynamic events, who knows what will be in store for Evercold in 8.0. These potentially big changes aside, myself and other hunters have been expecting the hunt to receive changes in 8.0, particularly specific nerfs. The current system keeps things tucked away, yet remains obscenely strong at endgame. Today, I'd like to talk about what I would like to see from the hunt in Evercold, and what could be in store given other wild announcements from FanFest. If you've never been hunting before, here's a quick outline. The types of hunts we'll be talking about in this video are S ranks and A ranks. With the exception of Realm Reborn zones, each zone has 2 A ranks that are on a respawn timer of 4 to 6 hours. Particularly for later expansions, players will try to organise trains, which allow anyone on the train to participate in getting the credit and rewards for each hunt mark. S ranks do have a timer, but they also have some absolutely crazy spawn conditions. Some are quote-unquote as simple as opening treasure coffers from specific maps, or being on spawn points with a specific minion. But others can be killing 100 enemies of 3 different varieties, or ensuring all fates in a zone succeed for an hour. Often, all just for a chance of the S rank spawning. These aren't even some of the wackiest spawn conditions, and I'd highly recommend looking them up, because some are madly specific, and you might get a bit of a giggle out of looking at the list. I have absolutely nothing but respect for S rank spawners. So why might someone wish to join the hunt? Like other activities in Final Fantasy XIV, there are a few reasons why someone might participate in the hunt. The first thing is currency rewards. We'll come back to talking about these. Next is for collections. There are 10 minions that are associated with hunt currency, and aren't locked behind content other than the main story. And there are 5 mounts that don't require hunt achievements. This leads me directly into the next reason, achievement hunting. Hunts come along with some of the bigger grind achievements in the game, and with those are titles and mounts. It's an MMO. Who doesn't love to flex a mount they put hours and hours into? Everyone doing the hunt has their own reason. They might be chasing down the grindy achievements and their rewards, or they might be after a smaller goal they've set themselves. Even to the extent of pocketing some more materia to keep, sell, or give to a friend. Let's circle back to the currency rewards I've mentioned. Currently, at Final Fantasy XIV Endgame, you'll be wanting to max out the weekly tomes, either to be chasing down best in slot, or to just raise your item level. The hunt might be the quickest way to do this. Let's take the current expansion, Dawn Trail. If each of Dawn Trail's 6 zones have 2 A ranks, this gives us 12 A ranks for a standard hunt train. This is ignoring zones with instances, which will only provide more A ranks to hunt. Each Dawn Trail A rank will reward you 10 limited tomes alongside other currency. Kill time may vary server to server, but in my experience, trains tend to be roughly 20 minutes. 20 minutes for 120 limited tomes out of a weekly cap of 450 is not bad at all. For comparison, Expert Roulette grants 40 limited tomes on completion. You would have to do Expert Roulette 3 times to get the same number of limited tomes as one current expansion hunt train. Doing all roulettes, except for Mental Roulette, gives you 230 limited tomes, but how long can that sometimes take? Going on a few hunt trains in the couple days after reset is a pretty good way to leave yourself plenty of time to do whatever you want to do for the rest of the week, and if you're an achievement hunter, it feels almost passive. Collecting tomes and getting closer to achievements takes turns in which one feels like a positive side effect, rather than your main reason for participating. Hunt trains in this manner can be particularly effective when a new Savage tier drops. It's not unusual for raiders to catch some of the first trains available, simply so they have more tomestones to work with when it comes to having the best gear they can before starting a tier. It's not just week 1 Savage raiders that benefit from the currency rewards of the hunt either. Obviously, the general points mentioned can apply to anyone in the game looking to get gear. For those who don't do Savage or are chasing some form of catch-up when it comes to augmented gear, the hunt is absurdly beneficial. I've mentioned that it's a brilliant way to get tomes, but once the even patch passes and the odd patch rolls around, it might be the most overpowered method for catching up item level, assuming you've already been collecting tomes. Let's take this pink-haired cat girl here. She's been capping out her weekly tomes via hunt trains and has been working on collecting tomestone gear. Perhaps she couldn't make Arcadian heavyweight Savage work with her schedule. Perhaps she was too nervous, or maybe she got in there but just couldn't clear anything other than M9S, Vamp Fatale Savage Fight. She'll be pleased to know she's not eternally stuck at item level 780. a lower item level than other players. How though? When a Savage tier releases on its even patch, Tome Gear augmentation items such as Thundersteep Twine and Thundersteep Glaze are rewards players can roll for when they clear a certain fight, or players can exchange the books received when enough weekly Savage clears are done. Admittedly, this is a system with its own criticisms, but that's for another time. The odd patch eventually rolls around, and whilst these items can still be obtained from their fights, a few other avenues open up. There's two primary methods for this catch-up outside of Savage. I'll quickly discuss the non-hunt method first to allow us to better compare them. Doing current expansion alliance raids weekly will grant you one token, usually a coin, which can be traded in as a method of exchange for the gear augmentation item. As more alliance raids release throughout the expansion, the more coins you need, as by the X.5 patch you currently need one coin from each alliance raid. This means a player can stockpile coins from earlier patch alliance raids and only do the newest one weekly, or they can end up doing all three every week. Keep in mind, an alliance raid can give you one token per week, so within a week you can have one of token A, token B, and token C. This limits a player to one gear augmentation item per week. The same patch that makes it so these Tome Gear augmentation items can be obtained via the Alliance Raid tokens is the same patch these items are added to the current expansion hunt vendor in exchange for an uncapped currency, sacks of nuts. There is no limit on how many sacks of nuts a player can obtain other than how many hunts that reward them they show up to. Genuinely, the only limiting factor is how many Shadowbringers, Endwalker or Dawntrail hunts a player is willing and able to make it to. To run some numbers quickly, again, ignoring any instances that will give us more S ranks to factor in. The 6 S ranks per expansion means there's currently 18 S ranks that would give the player sacks of nuts. The ability to travel between worlds on the data center means that's 18 S ranks per server that could give someone sacks of nuts. For Chaos, that means 144 S ranks, particularly if there's just been an update so all the hunt time is reset. Each S rank gives 100 of the currency, and if any of those hunts are lucky enough to spawn an SS rank too, those give an additional 400 sacks of nuts when taken down. Plus, this isn't acknowledging hunt trains. Each A rank hunt mark from Shadowbringers, Endwalker or Dawntrail will grant the player 40 sacks of nuts. Back to our average train of 12 marks, that's 480 sacks of nuts per train. A player is realistically not going to attend every S rank opportunity within a day or two, and even less likely to if they're catching trains, but I'm hoping you can see how much these sacks of nuts add up when a player sets the time aside. This does, however, mean that theoretically, whatever tombstone gear our pink-haired cat girl has collected for that minor gearing cycle, she could augment within a couple days of the odd patch releasing. Crazy, no? Prior to the North American FanFest keynote, members of the Hunt community had been expecting the Hunt to get nerfed in 8.0. The way the currency quickly adds up feels almost obscene compared to other aspects of the game, especially when in direct competition with them. The expectation was changes to amounts of tomes, or maybe a capped currency for current expansion hunts, if the gear augmentation items were still going to be available this way. Ultimately, we were expecting something that would serve as a direct nerf to the content, to make it less powerful for weekly tomes and catch-up gear. In all honesty, the keynote has thrown certainly some, if not all of those ideas out the window. 8.0 will bring major changes to gear progression and tomestones, and honestly, we're still rather in the dark about what this might include. We've been shown a preview of the concept of weekly character activity that looks to shift progression away from tomestones and to a list of activities players can do to earn activity points. This has the potential to leave the hunt relatively untouched in terms of the quantity of currency that can be earned. We'll presumably still need poetics for relics and such, and sacks of nuts for minions and mounts. It could simply be nerfed by the system no longer requiring what it offers. I don't think it would be impossible or unreasonable for the hunt to appear on the weekly activity list in some capacity as one of the ways players could earn their weekly activity points. However, if it does, I do doubt it will be as strong as it is now. What kind of effect might this have on the way we hunt? Hunts might become less appealing to some players if they are no longer one of the more valuable methods of collecting currency for progression. This likely won't deter the achievement hunters, and it might even end up introducing more people to the hunt. But I can see this possibly being like the Moogle Tombstone events, where the task is to kill their weekly B rank hunt mark, and potentially not anything higher. Sniping hunt marks when other people in the community aren't ready to go isn't against TOS. But there is the possible worry that tasking players to kill an A rank or an S rank for their weekly activity points could increase chances of marks getting sniped or early pulled. We must remember that the gearing and progression changes aren't the only changes on the table when it comes to the hunt. Not only did the FanFest keynote mention a push to improve player experience in public field areas, there was also a brief comment about how treasure hunts, fates, and the hunt would all be present in 8.0, but all seemingly due for an upgrade or evolution of themselves. Ideas were shared for fates, again bringing in the idea of things being more dynamic, but the hunt was left as simply due an evolution, alongside the other system changes. I've been doing some thinking, and I think there's two main directions they could take the hunt, at least in terms of S ranks. Personally, I prefer one of these ideas to the other significantly, but I'd love to hear any ideas you have for how the hunt might change down in the comments below. These ideas are arguably two different sides of a spectrum, with one changing the core of the hunt a lot. The first idea, which is not my favourite of the ideas, would be taking inspiration from treasure maps. When you're doing treasure maps, the coffer and the enemies spawned that you have to defeat prior to getting your loot and potentially a portal are locked to you and your party. Even if another party comes along with a map in the same location, you can't really interfere in the activity of the other party. A similar concept could be applied to S ranks. Collect a hunt mark bill, collect people to do a wacky spawn condition with, find the mark on the map, and kill it. I think this is unlikely. I feel like this idea is the opposite of the dynamic public field concept Square Enix seem to want. Plus, I'd say the biggest criticism of this easily could be changing the hunt to not being a community-wide activity, and instead primarily relying on the potentially pre-existing social groups. I don't think this would be a good direction for the hunt to go in. The other idea would be to lean further into the concept of a world boss, perhaps S ranks with more adjacent to large achievement fates, where there's a greater level of mechanics at play and teamwork required. The difficulty there would be making the S rank still defeatable if spawned at a low activity time on the server. I think the enemy counting as an S rank would keep players returning for achievement progress and some currency rewards, whereas achievement fates, whilst you will have players helping out, a lot of players move on once they have the currency from 2 or 3 clears to exchange for all the available rewards. The real question is, how much of a challenge should S ranks be to either spawn or defeat? Currently, they do have some mechanics, but it's rare for them to come into play too often, due to either the sheer number of players looking to take down the enemy, or the S rank is from an expansion of an era gone by, and as such, players' gear level piles onto the S rank, quickly crushing it. The hunt, particularly the S ranks, could undergo a frankly cool redesign to tie into the improved player experience in public field zones. There's a lot of potential, and I think that's been shown even through some recent battle content having these epic moments. A lot of people loved the finale to the Arcadian raid, with the fan concept of the music being relevant to the Warrior of Light, and a pretty simple mechanic towards the end of Windhurst, the Third Walk Alliance raid, creating a real, wow, I'm a hero feeling, putting yourself right on the front lines regardless of your role to aid your peers. Whatever changes we see in Evercold, I honestly have high hopes for the hunt. The idea of public field areas becoming more dynamic is exciting, and I can't wait to find out more about what this includes, both for the hunt and other elements of the overworld. I have enjoyed the hunt as it currently exists, but I'm keen to see what an evolution of the activity will entail. Hopefully, we might get more details at future fanfests before Evercold is set to come out in January. If you have any other ideas for how the hunt might look in Evercold, please leave a comment. I'd love to read other people's opinions on this, and if you've enjoyed this type of video, please consider subscribing or maybe leaving a like. I'm hoping to do more of this type of video in the future, but for now, I'll see you next time.